I'm talking to you from a slum in India, and the conditions here are very much like slums all over the world, in Southeast Asia, in Sub-Saharan Africa, and Latin America. And one common feature of these slums is that people have to live in extremely small dwellings. These are sometimes as small as 4 feet by 6 feet, and you have families of 4, 6, even 8 people crowding into them. And as you can imagine, there is no room for a private toilet in these homes. The thing about the hot and humid conditions you find in tropical countries is that it makes for a perfect ecosystem for all forms of life. Now, many of these are beautiful to go visit, but some of them are actually quite harmful to humans. There are a number of pathogens, bacteria, viruses, parasites, and helminths like roundworms and hookworms, which find very, very hospitable environments here inside our guts. Then they get out and they find just as hospitable an environment outside. Here's how it happens. Public toilets are few and far in between, and most of those that exist are also quite filthy. And so people have to make do with defecation out in the open. Kids, being kids, they just go wherever and whenever. Adults have to be a little more discreet. So men often find semi-private places, and women often have to really wait till the sun sets or get up really early in the morning before the sun rises, so that they don't have to worry about loss of privacy. So people have to defecate near railway tracks, waterways, open fields, and particularly when it rains, the pathogens can spread so very easily. Then we're faced with the problem of things like flies. So these flies are machines made to carry bugs. So they land on the human waste, then they go to food, they go to fruits, they land on people's faces, and that's one way the pathogens spread. It also spreads because when people defecate outside, they often don't have soap to wash their hands with, and so they just use plain water, and when they come back, they still have the pathogens on their hands. And so through food and water and fingers, the pathogens re-enter human digestive systems. Now, adults are usually fine with this, but when children suffer from diarrheal disease, 2 things happen. The first is they get dehydrated, and if that gets severe, they can die. A lesser known phenomenon is what's called environmental enteropathy, in which the villi in the small intestine get eroded, and that severely diminishes the child's ability to absorb nutrients. Now, this can lead to chronic malnutrition, and the child can remain stunted or underweight. And over the course of a lifetime, as condition stays, essentially the adult's ability to develop a strong immune system and fight disease can also be diminished over the course of the lifetime. But children can't handle this, and as a result, they have diarrhea, often severe bouts of frequent diarrhea called diarrheal disease, and many of them die of dehydration. Each day, about 2,000 kids around the world die because of this. That's over 710,000 children around the world every year. There are a number of ways of dealing with this problem. There are programs on oral rehydration for kids and deworming for kids. There are programs for water purification, and there are programs for sanitation, which essentially means building toilets. But as we can see with the case of public toilets, it's not just about the presence of toilets, but there's a significant element of behavior change. Today, we'll meet an organization that's done some amazing work in behavior change in the slums of Delhi.
Diarrheal disease is really the cause of very high infant mortality in the country. For the last 60 years, we've been saying that a lot of our budgets are being allocated to social programs. And in the last many years, it has been more as saying that we are providing and giving grants for people to build toilets. But those toilets, if you go and count them, you will find half the number that are there on the books. But more importantly, if you count the numbers that are being used, I don't think you'll find more than 10% of those numbers. We've been reminding the government that it's not the right thing to count number of toilets constructed, but it's probably the better and the most appropriate indices, and the metric is really how many open defecation free communities do we have. And when we define open defecation free communities, we are looking at those communities where not a single member is defecating in the open. Because the dangers that are there of open defecation, it doesn't really matter whether it's one member or all members. One member is equal to all members defecating in the open. That's the danger. So you have to create and sustain the development of completely 100% open defecation free communities. People associated it, particularly in the rural areas, people associated toilets with something that the government offered, but no one really bothered about whether they were being used. Old habits die hard. So over generations, people have been used to the practice of defecating out in the open. And therefore, what we realized when we were looking at this in the sanitation problem was that we will have to change mindsets. And those changing of mindsets that are deep-rooted over generations is a very, very difficult thing.
सर भी सर टॉयलेट नहीं था तो मेरे बच्चे को साल में 2 बार डायरिया हो गया था सर। पहले यहाँ डॉक्टर को दिखाया, उसने एक बार तो मना ही कर दिया, बोला भाई इसको हॉस्पिटल लेके जाओ, ये बचेगा नहीं अब। सर उसको सफदरजंग में एडमिट करवाया, 5 दिन एडमिट रहा, फिर ठीक हुआ। अब सर जब से टॉयलेट बना है हमारे को बहुत ही कम, कभी कभार साल में 1-2 बार बच्चों को बुखार हो जाता है, नहीं कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है जी, डायरिया वगैरह उल्टी दस्त कुछ नहीं है सर।
इतनी परेशानी थी कि शाम सुबह दारू पानी पिए, शराब पे आदमी मले है, दिन रात पड़ी पूरी। तो उससे है हमारे ये बनाना बाद में हमारे बहन बेटी की बहू की सबकी बहुत फ़ायदा है। हाँ, ऐसे सहूलियत होगी कि यही है लेटरी बाथरूम, रात में जावे कि शाम जावे सुबह जावे तो कोई दिक्कत वाली बात नहीं। लेकिन ये साफ़ सफाई में यहाँ नदी का पानी वानी दे के साफ़ सफाई करें तो यहाँ बहुत फ़ायदा है हमारे, है नहीं। अब ऐसे है कि यहाँ नदी जाता है बच्चों के लिए, बड़ा आदमी के लिए बहुत फ़ायदा है। हाँ, हरी बीमारी से बहुत दूर हो गया।